As the air filled with smoke, the heavens flared an uncomfortable hue of orange. The once tranquil woods became a seething firestorm as flames tore at the trees and the air crackled with destruction. Two kangaroos, one very pregnant and unable to move quickly, and the other desperately scanning their surroundings, stayed frozen in fright among the chaos. Exhaustion pulling her down, the pregnant kangaroo trembled. Every breath choked, every step strained. She knew she could not outrun the oncoming flames. Her companion, the other kangaroo, gently nudged her and then turned to face the broad road beyond the forest. Instinct grabbed hold. Should she not be able to save her friend alone, she would find someone else who could. With huge leaps, the second kangaroo flew across the smoke-filled air, dodging falling embers and leaping between burning trees. Her strong legs drove her towards the road, their one hope. The road spread up before her first empty. Then, though, headlights tore over the mist. One car was headed towards something. Without thinking, the kangaroo rushed right in the path of a coming automobile. The tires screeched when the motorist applied strong brakes. Inside the car, a lady gripping the wheel felt her heart hammer. Before she had seen a kangaroo act like this, eyes wide and imploring, still in the road. It was not fleeing. It displayed no terror. It called for help. Rising out of the car, the woman followed her instincts as sharp as those of the animal. She went carefully ahead, and the kangaroo pivoted to leap a few feet back from her. It was clear from the message, "Follow me." Not sure how serious the situation she was about to face was, the woman grabbed her phone and a bottle of water from her car before sprinting after the scared animal. From a distance, the fire blazed the air, heating with every step. Though she knew one thing, she couldn't ignore the call for help. The woman had no idea what awaited her in the smoky forest. Her heart pounded as the woman followed the kangaroo further into the bush. Every breath seemed weighty as the air filled with heat and ash caused eye damage. The flickering illumination of the approaching fire turned the once beautiful view into a terror with spooky shadows over the trees. Still, the kangaroo raced ahead, peeking back every few hops to verify the woman was keeping up. She was moving towards something really crucial. As the flames cracked louder, the woman's instincts yelled at her to turn back. She eventually saw it, though, a dead body resting among the dense clouds on the forest floor. A pregnant kangaroo. Breath shallow and labored, the beast lay on its side. Its fur was singed at the borders. Its body weighed mostly from exhaustion. The woman quickly tightened her chest. This mother-to-be watched the flames approaching rapidly, barely strong enough to escape. Her hands hovering haplessly, she dropped to her knees next to the struggling animal. She said, "It's okay," not knowing whether the kangaroo could even hear her. "I am here eager to help." Beside her, the second kangaroo moved frantically from foot to foot, as though urging her to act anywhere before it was too late. Looking for her phone, the woman dialed emergency services quickly. She spoke frantically but clearly, outlining their position and the gravity of the situation. "A pregnant kangaroo is stuck in the fire zone. She is not strong enough to get about. We really need assistance." The operator answered quickly. Fire and rescue crews were already on the scene combating the fire. They would send a squad straight at her position. Rising from her hanging position, the woman focused once more on the mother kangaroo. She pulled the water bottle from her pocket and gently dripped a few drops on her palm, pointing it towards the broken lips of the animal. There was no answer at first. Then, weakly, the kangaroo's tongue darted out, lapping at the priceless liquid. Inspired, the woman dumped more into a little puddle on the ground and watched the kangaroo sip what little she could. The second kangaroo, the one that had asked for aid, softly nuzzled the mother's face as though to be comforting her that help was just around. Then the sound of sirens sliced through the fury of the flames from far away. Help was on the way. The woman could hear the far-off siren cry becoming louder, but the flames were rapidly closing in. As if the flames themselves were attempting to force her away, the heat pushed against her flesh, persistent and unrelenting. embers, their beauty hiding their lethal character, swirled across the air like brilliant fireflies. She refused to go, even though every crackling of burning wood sent a fresh shock of terror across her. With its big ears twitching at every unpleasant sound, the second kangaroo, loyal and relentless, stood guardingly next to the tired mother. Tensing with every moving spark, its powerful physique prepared to defend its friend despite the great risk. The flickering firelight reflected in black eyes, a whirl of dread and will there. The woman pushed back towards the direction she had come from, swallowing hard. Once a lighthouse of safety, the road now seemed to be unreachable under heavy smoke and tall flames that ate everything in their path. Could the crew of rescuers arrive on schedule? The woman had to cover her face when a sudden strong blast of wind drove a wave of smoke at her. The fire crackled louder, ravenous, approaching with its orange tentacles reaching ever near. Every impulse shouted at her to flee, to reach safety before it was too late. She stayed, nevertheless. She turned once again towards the mother kangaroo. The animal had a shockingly quiet physique and inconsistent respiration. The woman briefly worried the worst. Then things changed. A little movement. Her eyes widened in horror as she understood what was occurring. She gasped. The mother kangaroo was approaching labor, not merely tired. Panic shot her like a flash of lightning. Of all the crises she had practiced in her life, delivering a baby kangaroo in the middle of a roaring forest fire had never been one of them. She lacked background knowledge or instruction. Should something go wrong, what then? And what if she exacerbated things? Her heart hammered while doubt tore at her brain. She suddenly saw it. The mother's body shuddered the least, her muscles tensing as nature proceeded. Sensing the urgency of the occasion, the second kangaroo moved in front of us. It dipped its head and softly pressed its snout against the mother's side, a quiet prod for her to hang on just a bit longer. Unquestionably, they had a bond, a silent promise of protection even against flames. The woman sank to her knees and laid a quivering palm on the side of the mother. "Hang on, girl," she said, her voice laden with feeling. "Help is just around here, a tiny bit more." By the second, the heat became intolerable. The air was smoky and desperation permeated. The woman coughed, her throat stung with ash. Every breath seemed like a fight. She then spotted it over the thick, stifling cloud. A brief red flash, blue later on. Like a lifeline, flashing emergency lights cut across the darkness and pierced the smoke wall. Arriving now was the fire rescue squad. Though she knew the fight was not yet finished, relief flowed over her like a tidal wave. Still in labour was the mother kangaroo. The fire kept on its advance, and the clock was running out. The actual struggle was still yet to start. Once the calm brilliance of stars permeated the night sky, a dense, stifling cloud of smoke now dominated them. As the fire tore over the forest, an unforged power consuming all in its path, the air smelt of burning wood and charred ground. Standing on the roadside, waving furiously at the oncoming fire rescue vehicles, the woman's heart hammered in her chest. Their flashing emergency lights seemed like rays of hope against the gloom. Its muscles stiff with discomfort, the second kangaroo jumped back a few steps but never turned away from the spectacle. The animal seemed to know the seriousness of the matter and would not be ready to go from its friend, even through such devastation. Firefighters in full safety gear leaped out, their faces set with well as the fire engines shrieked to a stop. Jack, a wildlife specialist, among them rapidly evaluated the circumstances. He knelt next to the mother kangaroo, his gloved hand only barely touching her side. "She's weak, but she's still holding on," he said. "Her breathing seems forced. We have to get her now, out of here." Beside him, the woman knelt and softly stroked the shaking body of the kangaroo. "She has spent much too long resting here." Her voice tinged with anxiety as she remarked, "I think she's in labour." Jack's attitude became grave. "Then we do have not much time." Benevolent behind them, the fire advanced, its blazing tendrils latching at the nearby trees. The area is illuminated in shimmering orange and crimson by the terrible glare created by the cracking flames. The heat was nearly intolerable, waves of it washing over them like a constant flood. The firefighters wasted not a moment. Unrolling a heavy-duty fire-resistant blanket, two of them created a makeshift barrier separating the mother kangaroo from the advancing flames. From the emergency van, another team member removed a collapsible wildlife stretcher intended especially for animal rescues. Jack said, "Easy now," as he and another firefighter set up themselves on either side of the mother kangaroo. "We lift on 3. Her voice hardly heard over the raging fire, the woman murmured gently to the wounded animal. "You will be all right. Simply hang on." An agonizing moan escaped the kangaroo's throat as soon as they started raising her. That was a terrible sound, one of innate outrage, terror, and weariness. She did not resist, though. She seemed to know that these total strangers were coming to assist. Unable to remain motionless anymore, the second kangaroo jumped frantically ahead. Its ears twitched fast as it let forth a series of unhappy groans. The fireman stopped, looking at the safety buddy. "It's okay," the woman firmly said. "We're supporting her." The devoted kangaroo hesitated but finally drew away, staying just far enough to observe while still maintaining near. The crew started towards the fire rescue truck when the mother kangaroo was securely fastened to the stretcher. Their boots crunched on burning trash. Every stride was a fight against the deepening smoke. With her sleeve covering her mouth and nose, the woman couched as the ash-filled air burnt her throat. Time was running short, a blistering reminder as the heat tore at their backs. Jack's radio buzzed with life. "The way is open. Get them out right away." The crew was suddenly quite urgent. They moved quickly yet deliberately forward. The mother kangaroo's respiration stayed shallow, and every second her body became heavier. The second kangaroo bolted forward as if escorting them to safety as they approached the rescue car. Knowing they had arrived just in time, the lady turned one final gaze back at the fiery forest. The rescue was still in progress, though. The actual struggle had not yet started. The pregnant kangaroo remained still on the stretcher while the rescue crew came out of the flaming forest, her breathing feeble and shallow. Her pulse thumping, the woman went beside and peered at the tired animal. Unwilled to abandon the sight of its friend, the second kangaroo hopped carefully behind them, observing every movement with unflinching loyalty. Inside, a temporary animal treatment tent put up close to the rescue trucks, the fireman gently placed the mother kangaroo. Already waiting, a veterinarian for animals dashed forward. "She's in critical condition," he replied, quickly evaluating her vital signs. "She is in active labor, dehydrated and stressed. We have to assist her in delivering immediately." Still traumatized from the fire, the woman observed warily as the veterinarian and his associates worked. They gave the kangaroo drinks to steady her and covered her with cool clothes. There was great anxiety in the air. Every second felt like an eternity. Then there is a gentle rustling movement. Little and delicate, with skin pink and wrinkled, barely human hand size, a little joey emerged. It wriggled weakly, seeking warmth automatically. Weak as she was, the mother kangaroo raised her head slightly and gently nuzzled her infant with what little power remained. The woman started crying in her eyes. Years of seeing devastation had hardened the firemen, who then found themselves temporarily quiet in response to the unvarnished beauty of life overcoming all challenges. The veterinarian said, "She's going to make it," a smile breaking through the austere looks all around him. "She is a fighter." Still standing close by, the second kangaroo emitted a gentle chuffing sound as though in agreement. Approaching the new mother and her joey, it softly touched her nose in a subdued show of affection and relief. The firemen kept battling to contain the last of the flames as daylight came, but in this little region of the planet, hope had prevailed. Once stopping her car for a frantic kangaroo, the woman now watched an amazing moment of survival. She knelt one last time beside the mother kangaroo before heading out. She said to the second kangaroo who had guided her to this amazing encounter, "You brought me here for a reason." She knew their trip wasn't finished, but the mother and Joey were safe in the hands of the rescue crew. They had been given another opportunity, and occasionally that was all that counted.